In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the exact same problem we just did, except we're going to do it using our calculator. And there's a nice function on this calculator that'll do all of the work for us that we just did by hand. And so, again, let's go find that actual function before we start this so you know where it's at. And now what we're going to do is you're going to go to Stat. You're going to click on your calculator. You're going to click your Stat key. And in Stat, you're going to use this new thing that we haven't used yet, we call tests. And there are two things in tests that we're really interested in. They are what we call hypothesis testing, which we'll do in the next unit. And there's also confidence intervals. But for this particular problem, we're constructing a 95% confidence interval. So we're going to go find our intervals. And in this particular problem, the only type of intervals you're going to do in this class are going to be it's going to be a t interval. And if you look here, my t interval is number 8. So I'm going to go down to t interval right here. And I want you to see what comes up when I go to t interval. And when I go to t interval, this first part says, how do you want to input the data? Do you want to give it to us as data, or do you want to give it to it as stats? So there's two methods you can use, either the data method or the stats method. Data means you pull things from a table or from a list. And so if we put things into a list, we're going to use data. If we're giving the numbers in the problem like we are for this particular problem, we're going to use stats. So again, this is the car lot example we just did by hand. Let's do it with the calculator. And it says you randomly select 36 cars of the same model that were sold at a car dealership and determine that the number of days each car sat on the dealership's lot before it was sold. The sample mean is 9.75 days with a sample standard deviation of 2.39 days. Construct a 95% confidence interval for the population mean number of days the car model sits on the dealership lot. So for these problems, what you're going to do, if you're using a calculator, you're going to go ahead and identify your different variables that it's asking you for. So the first thing it's asking me for is, what is X bar? And I'm using the stats. Well, X bar is the sample mean, and it tells me that the sample mean is 9.75 days. And then it wants to know, what is S of X? Well, S of X is the sample standard deviation, and that's 2.39 days. The other thing it needs a sample size N. And we select the 36 cars, so my N is equal to 36. And then the last thing it wants to know, what is the confidence level? And my confidence level is 95%. I need to write that 95% expressed to the decimal. So all I have to do now is come over here to my calculator and type those values in. And so the first one, I'm going to do it in terms of stats because I have these stats, the statistics that are given to me already. X bar, 9.75. S of X, 2.39. N, 36. The confidence level. Normally we would do inverse norm or inverse t and then add values to get to the confidence level. Here, we don't do any of that. The calculator will do all the work for us. So leave it as 0.95. Express it at the decimal. It's 95% confidence level. And you go to calculate. And when you go to calculate, it spits out the interval to be 8.941 to 10.559. In our previous example, we got this interval here, 8.941 to 10.559 by hand. And if you look over here now, we're getting the exact same thing, except the calculator did all of the work, and this is a much quicker process. So for your homework and for your test, I want you to use the calculator, unless I specifically make you use it by hand. But for the most part, all of these intervals can be done using the calculator.